Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So it gets recorded and streamed live both.
जी.
So let us know. We will start.
जी. Yes, we are live.
Hi, good morning, everybody. We are into our next webinar with the dynamic Bhavdeep Singh sir today. I know it is a lazy Sunday and we are very early into the webinar. So I would like to welcome Dr. Bhavdeep Singh sir with us today. Good morning, Dr. Bhavdeep, and welcome to the show.
Hi. Good morning.
We also have today Dr. Anandpal Singh sir. Good morning, Dr. Anandpal from Calcutta.
Good morning.
And our host today is Dr. Saurabh Shah. Good morning, Dr. Saurabh.
Good morning, Dr. Abhishek ji.
The
I
topic
hope.
for today, yes, please.
Yes. Please continue, sir.
Since we have covered almost all the topics in this lockdown period and we have learned so many things, but we are yet to learn how to decide the treatment charges, which is the most important thing. In the end, what matters is the money what we earn. So we have the expert today with us, Dr. Bhavdeep. He will guide us how we can fix the treatment charges today. Dr. Anand sir, please.
Welcome everybody. It's a very important topic, how to decide treatment charges in these troubled COVID-19 times. By my dear friend, Dr. Bhavdeep Singh Ahuja, whom I have known since from the first day of college, roughly 26 years ago, and seen him grow to share his immense knowledge on finance, law, marketing, and bio-waste management. He is a triple MBA in hospital management, future and finance and marketing from Premier Institute and Universities of India. Also holds PG diploma in medical law, ethics, clinical research, cyber law, IPR, disaster management, bioinformatics. He has over 125 original scientific publications to his credit in national and international journals. He's lectured extensively across the country on practice management, medical law, ethics, consent, finance, especially for the dentists. His YouTube channel exclusively for the dentist is famous by the name of Dr. Bhavdeep Ahuja, and he posts videos on it every week on these three topics for the upliftment of dental fertility. Over to you, Dr. Bhavdeep.
Thank
Dr.
you.
Saurabh.
Yes.
Dr. Saurabh.
Yes, sir. I have been knowing Dr. Bhavdeep since the beginning of lockdown, and I am a keen appreciator of sir's knowledge. But Dr. Bhavdeep Singh has a vast experience of accounting, and what makes it unique is that sir makes it very easy to understand, considering a dentist's point of view. We have many other financial tutors, but no one teaches us according to the dentist point of view. So though now, with the current COVID scenario where our expenses have gone up, our investments are gone up, and our risks have gone up, this is a very important and a very to the point topic, as in how to get back our investments and how do we decide our charges in the current scenario. So I am looking forward for the today's session by Dr. Bhavdeep Ahuja. Sir, please take the stage and the dice is yours. Thank you very much for the lecture, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Abhishek, Dr. Anant, Dr. Saurabh, for a warm introduction. I'm really honored to be on the August platform of WDA. Life comes a full circle in 5 months or so. I remember when the lockdown started, I was the first one to start the series of webinars on 25th of March. So definitely it has been again like a homecoming. Yes, then I did a second session All those videos are also still there on the WDA, and these videos will also continue to be there on the say group itself. So no plans to delete them as such. So it is all for the betterment of the community. So thank you, Anand, for the wonderful introduction. He has been my wonderful batchmate, roommate, and all you can say partner in crime of every say task done in college. So Abhishek and Anand I know since a long time, and they have been really doing a wonderful job for the fraternity. And yes, it is my endeavor to say be sharing this thing. We'll be doing this session in two parts. The first part today, and the second part on the say 30th of August, the one Sunday after this. So I had many topics in my mind, but then Abhishek requested me to take up this topic, especially because he said the dentist is actually struggling with this part. So we should be taking that part. It is primarily based on not finance, but practice management aspects. And yes, I'll be covering a bit of finance as well, wherein the touch is required for both. Because as we can see, these things are, and we'll be seeing earlier again, say in coming up presentations as well. So these things are actually say inseparable from each other. So without much ado, let me share my screen first so that I can.
Sir, sorry to interrupt, but
Ji.
I think due to some technical reasons, we are not live on the page.
It is showing live on the page.
On the page,
But I cannot see through.
I can see.
Okay,
can see.
then
I can
okay,
see.
then please continue. Please
It
continue.
is there.
Okay.
So okay.
Let's start watching.
Okay, I'll be sharing my screen. So I hope the screen is it visible, Ananta?
Yes.
All visible. All okay.
Okay, great. So the topic for today is how to decide treatment charges in these troubled COVID-19 times. Since it is an aspect which is related both to say practice and finance management. So both the images are there on the home screen. Always my presentations begin with thanking the Lord Almighty, who's given me much more than what I deserve. So there is no two ways about it. Because without His help, we can't do anything in our life. So when it comes to finance, my big thanks is due to my dad also, courtesy whom I'm able to impart financial knowledge. Of course, I have my MBA finance as well, but primarily what I'm going to say deal with finance with dentist aspect with my colleagues. It is primarily because of my dad. So thank you, Dad. This is my brief biodata. Most of you are actually aware of it. So Anantpal just briefed you about all these. So thank you so much, Anantpal. So we are going to delve today on how to decide treatment charges in these troubled times, COVID-19 times. So these are the topics. So the brief breakout of these topics will be how much to increase actually, which procedure charges can remain stable, does competition affect my charges, calculation of each small things for which we never get educated in our college life. We learn by mistakes, and for each learning we count a huge loss, and how finance can be made much better in a mathematical way, and much more. So as I said, my initial two presentations on 25th March and 1st of April, the first ones in the lockdown, they were there on WDA, and they're still on the group. You can search out for the same. Those dealt with the half of the presentation. That was around a 3-hour presentation. So half of that dealt with the practice management and half with finance, the basics part. And then I'm going into the depth with the treatment charges part. Yes. So that is the way we actually can make it more significant in our practical, say, clinical life, where we can make the changes. So and apart from this and many other videos, those are actually say visible on my say YouTube platform also. Anantpal told you about it. My YouTube.
Yes.
Sorry.
Would like to interrupt you. You have not shared it live on the page. You need to do that on the page.
I've shared in the group itself, I guess.
So you have shared it on the group, but not on the page.
You can share it only at one's place, I guess.
Please share it on the page, then we will share it on the group.
I've shared it. Okay. Then I have to stop this and then go back again to share.
Okay.
I'll do that.
No problem. You can
Okay.
do that, so no problem.
Okay. I'll stop the stream and then share back on the page.
सॉरी, मुझे लगा कि वो पेज के ही है, मुझे पता नहीं था।
ग्रुप पे ही था वो।
हाँ,
We are
ग्रुप पे
still
था।
live or we are offline now?
नहीं, ऑफलाइन हो गया, अब जा रहा हूँ ऑनलाइन में दोबारा।
सर ग्रुप पे सर व्यूअर्स नहीं आ रहे थे, सिर्फ 50 व्यूअर्स थे, 60 पेज पे करेंगे तो व्यूअर्स आते हैं सर।
ओके,
और all our webinars on page भी, तो if someone wants to search your previous webinars ना, तो पेज पे से बहुत इजी हो जाएगा ढूंढना।
पर पेज पे ओके फाइन, ठीक है। सॉरी, मैं उसको वहीं पे कर दिया, ग्रुप में किया।
हाँ नहीं सर, वो
चलो,
कंफ्यूजन
अभी
थोड़ा
देखो।
रहता है वो समझने में, सुनने में।
नहीं, उस दिन एंडो वैली का हमने उसी में किया था एक्चुअली, तो चलो, माय
सर
मिस्टेक।
पेज में बहुत सारे
पेज पे नहीं नहीं, ठीक है, पेज पे कर दिया। वी कैन स्टार्ट
खुलता
अगेन, नो
कैसे है?
वरीज।
ओके सर, वी विल रीस्टार्ट अगेन।
I'm going. Yes, I'm going live. I'll let you know.
एक वॉच पार्टी स्टार्ट की थी, उसको एंड कर दूं ना?
डिलीट ही कर दो पोस्ट, दोबारा से नहीं से।
Okay. Should I go live?
यस
Okay, I'm going. Yes, so we are live. Hey, just a second. It is setting up the meeting. Anandpal, please check whether we are live, because it is showing to me live, but the link is not opened up in my end.
यस
Yes, live.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome, and first of all, apologies. There were some technical issues, and we have to restart it again. Sorry for the delay. And I would like to introduce the dynamic Dr. Bhavdeep Singh Ahuja sir with us today in the morning. Though it is a lazy Sunday, but still we have to learn and move ahead with the life. In all the last 4 months, we have learned so much in the previous webinars. Now it is the time for us to implement it and earn through it. Dr. Bhavdeep sir will guide us how we can earn in our practice, how we can decide our treatment charges in the difficult COVID times. I would request Dr. I would welcome Dr. Anandpal Singh and Dr. Saurabh Shah, our co-host today in the morning, to join us. Good morning and welcome Dr. Anand and Dr. Saurabh Shah.
Good morning, Abhishek.
गुड मॉर्निंग डॉक्टर अभिषेक।
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the webinar on this very important topic: how to decide treatment charges in these troubled COVID-19 times, by my very dear friend Dr. Bhavdeep Singh Ahuja, whom I have known since the very first day of college, roughly 26 years ago. The exact date Dr. Bhavdeep can give me till now also, and seen him grow to gain and share his immense knowledge on finance, law, marketing, and bio-waste management. He is a triple MBA in hospital management, finance, and marketing from premier institutes and universities of India. He also holds PG diploma in medical law, ethics, clinical research, cyber law, IPR, and disaster management and bioinformatics. He has over 125 original scientific publications to his credit in national and international journals. He has extensively lectured all over India on practice management, medical law, ethics, consent, finance, especially for dentists. He has a YouTube channel exclusively for the dentists, is famous by the name of Dr. Bhavdeep Ahuja, where he posts videos every week on these three topics for upliftment of dental pertinence. Dr. Saurav?
Dr.
Sorry.
Saurabh, you are mute, sir. Yes. Yes. No, again mute. Yes. Just press it once. You are still mute.
I'm
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much, and sorry for the technicality. We have a very distinguished speaker today, Dr. Bhavdeep Singh Ahuja. I have been lucky to follow him since his first webinar on WDA, and I have gained immense knowledge on the finances, legality expertise, especially in the COVID duration. So after learning throughout all the webinars throughout, today's topic is of most importance, because how do we implement our knowledge and at the same time do not spoil our balance sheets. Our investments during the COVID times have gone high to take precautions and extra this. So how do we gain our returns on investment is an important point. So I look forward to today's lecture. Dr. Bhavdik Singh, please over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Abhishek, Dr. Anantpal, Dr. Saurabh for a warm introduction. Yes, life comes a full circle. Thankfully, when the lockdown started, my webinar was one of the first ones on 25th of March, the day of Gudi Padwa, I remember. And from there on, WD has never looked bad. Of course, I don't credit myself. It is the team effort of WD as well. I was just the starter of that. So they have been doing these activities before that. So the team of the AA boys, as they call Abhishek and Anand, and the whole team, admin team, have been doing wonderful, say, society, say, CSR work without being any corporate themselves. They are doing a wonderful CSR and paying back to the society, and that is a wonderful gesture. So, Dr. Anant, thank you for introducing me. Yes, we met together on 17th October 1994. So it was the first day of our college. So let me start. Yes, we were late by a few because I had shared the presentation on the group rather than the page. I apologize for that. So let me share my screen so that without much ado, we can begin our presentation. So I hope the screen is visible. Is the screen visible?
Yes, sir. All okay.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. So today's topic is actually a combination of both practice and finance management, because I believe that these two things are actually inseparable from each other. You can't really take out maths from practice management. Yes, most of us chose medical, most of us, I'll say, in +1 because we hated maths. But finance will continue to haunt us always. There is no going two thoughts about it, that this is one thing which we have to take care. Unless we take care of the mathematics part in our practice, we are not going to grow. And that is the only tangible way to grow, actually. So all my presentations always begin with thanking the Lord Almighty, who's given me much more than what I deserve. So when it comes to finance, a big thanks is due to my dad as well, who has been instrumental in guiding me guiding all the colleagues, all the dentist, say, friends all over the globe or all over the world, I'll say. Because I have my MBA finance, but when it pertains to the financial aspects related to dentist, there was only one person, my dad. Unfortunately, we lost him last year. So I was lecturing that day in Vapi, Gujarat. So this is my brief biodata. Anantpal has wonderfully told you about this. So let's start today's topic. Today's topic is how to decide treatment charges in these troubled times. So I had many topics in my mind, but Abhishek requested me specifically for this topic. Sir, this is the one we actually need because of so many investments, because of so many other aspects. Say, courtesy COVID, we have to adopt in our clinic, which of them might not be settling out, but yes, for the timing we are having increased expenses. So how to manage that and how to go about the other tasks. So here I am taking this topic. So treatment charges, how to decide in these troubled COVID times. Yes, we'll be doing, I'll be segregating these topics in a different aspect, I will say. How much to increase. So how much to increase about it, and which are the ones which don't actually need any kind of, say, which have to be stable, the charges which need to be stable. And does the competitor pricing actually, say, affect our, affect our, say, our own charges in the clinic, and calculation of all those small things which say we get guided, but we are not actually aware of it, and nobody is there to educate us the same in college. And those small mistakes for each learning, and sometimes it makes a huge loss in our practice life. So, and how finance can be made mathematically better. So I always say practice management without the knowledge of finance is a big zero in your life, because the life scenario is changing. Dentistry is changing. It is not the same what it was, say, pre-COVID, we will say. Now, as Dr. Kumar Swamy wonderfully put it, it is an AC and a BC, after Corona and a before Corona period. So yes, we have to look at life in such a way. For those who were actually maintaining good guidelines in clinic, courtesy, I'll say, the sterilization and the disinfection protocols, for them, the life has not changed by much. But for the others, it has changed by a huge number. And now in this scenario, figures and numbers become more important than before. Because unless we know our numbers, we cannot grow in life. And that is where the importance of treatment charges comes in. But before we go on to the treatment charges, let me put it bluntly, it is more than the, say, those things which are not under our control. The number of patients walking in post-COVID is not in our hand. But what is in our hand are the expenses and the overheads, which we really can control, and we can actually say put in say break over there, where we can decide that these things are there in our life. And we all look at a positive side. There is a thorny side also to that. A loyal staff and a loyal associate who have been doing wonderful work, they are also a big overhead. That doesn't mean that you say shun them away from your practice. What I mean to say is that those aspects will have to be taken into account, especially for the period when we were closed. So we'll be dealing with the expense part in depth in the part 2, but I'll be sharing somewhat aspects, because those aspects have to be taken into account when we say actually go about discussing the charges. So let's see in brief about the expenses part. There are a few questions we need to ask ourselves. So what is the optimum salary we consider for an associate working with us? Not a visiting specialist I'm talking, just the associate who is regularly working with us. And is it annually revisable? Do you annually actually raise it, or is it based on incentive? And what kind of work you like to delegate? There are many clinics where only the associate get the scaling or the basic say repair and maintenance part only. They don't get to do actual work in many clinics. But in many clinics, they are actually the say right hand of the dentist. They actually perform many more procedures which the dentist feels that he is not good at, and he actually likes to delegate them. So fine enough. So that is the aspect we have to consider into, because that becomes a portion of a huge overhead. Then the similar goes for a assistant, or say your chair side help, we may call it in another way. So do you raise this say salary annually? Again, it is again the loyal employee working with you since the past 10 years, 15 years, especially for people who are into this much period of practice. So that overhead is sometimes a big one. So we actually need to know about it. So that it is one of the biggest overhead. But then on the flip side, as I said, trained assistants are so hard to find. They are big assets, but the overhead part has to be taken up very say in a different manner, as we can say. So how to decide on the same in say in these coming times. So this is the aspect we really need to be very aware of when we actually look at the treatment charges aspect. So we'll be seeing more in the coming slides about this. So yes, this is a catch-22 situation. A recent survey done very recently just showed these figures. How much or what kind of investments dentists will undergo. No investment 5%, high-vac suction 38%, HEPA filters 38%, extraoral 49%, PPE 87%, fumigation 63%, and the rest other upgrades were negligible or say less than 1%. So that is not out of 100, but the percentage of dentists who opted for that they will be buying this kind of a thing. So yes, all this comes at a cost. We need to know, and all this leads to an increased costing in dentistry in coming times. So when we have an increase in our initial investments, the cost is say bound to go up, especially with the increased expenses. And we have our running expenses already with us. Along combined with these kinds of overhead, we get in a situation where we don't know actually how to deal with it. So the rising cost in the oral healthcare. So Benjamin Franklin once said, a small leak will sink a great ship. Beware of these little expenses. These are the very say, expenses which actually are detrimental in causing the problem in our clinic. Open up your drawer of a clinic, open up your refrigerator of the clinic. You'll find so many materials unused since many months. And some of those were bought actually in the hope कि अगर एक patient भी आ जाएगा तो पैसे पूरे हो जाएंगे. That one patient will cover all the damage, and luckily or unluckily that one patient didn't come. So that is kind of impulsive buying that we have been indulging in, that we have to be very sure that we don't indulge further. So if we look at our material buying pattern, we will decide it actually that we indulge in a FOMO approach, fear of missing out. Somebody put up a great post about endo, and you are not an endo fan, you are a perio guy or you are a prosto guy. You buy those things, you are obsessed with those white lines like your colleagues on the Facebook or like on any other social media. You buy all those stuff, so 3D Opera or any kind of materials which are higher on the expensive side, and they continue to gather the dust in your clinic. And you don't actually realize, Dr. Rajiv Verma very fondly says this thing. You ought to have an aptitude for a certain thing. You ought to define your like and love subjects. And that is what precisely we don't do. We indulge in this kind of say buying because we feel that everyone is doing so So we ought to do as well. Then these things are bought in the hope of a good discount as well. We get a good offer. We actually need to know our consumption levels first. Let's suppose we are using 10 syringes of flowable in a year. If you are keeping the record and say consumption pattern, yes, that becomes a paramount importance. If you are actually say doing it and you get a offer at Expedient, say 20 syringes for almost say 25% less. Remember that for those buying those 10 extra, you're actually spending in over budget on that. So that is the thing you really need to remember in this period. So the demand in the post-COVID era will have to be re-estimated. So this is actually one aspect which will come clear, and all those things which we have been say indulging in those scenarios will not be actually needed over there. Now, what will be the final guidelines? Nobody knows, because everybody of us, or say many, I will say the scientists out of us, are not even clear about what exactly the COVID holds in surprise for all of us. So that is the, I will say, the bad part about it. But yes, many of us have already indulged in this kind of buying. But whether we'll be needing actually a fumigator or a HEPA filter or a fumigating or fogging machine or a negative ion generator, we don't know actually. Where will the final buck settle on? Only time will tell. So inventory control or expenses control or overheads control, all these parts. So remember, expenses and overheads will include two things primarily: your material consumption or equipment buying pattern and your staff pattern. The ones I've discussed briefly. Yes, I'll be taking more on them in the second session on 30th of August. So the coming say season post-COVID, this will be a game of PPE versus PPP. So PPE we all know, personal protective equipment. So there will be say refills for equipment needed, along with purchases of wiping, cleaning, sanitizing, disinfection. So that those will be the most expensive out of all, and these will be vis-a-vis the PPP, the patient purchase power. The economy has crashed very badly. We all know it. In a scenario, so many people are jobless. Even the self-employed ones are not, say, actually having the similar number of footfall they were having before. So this is one aspect we really need to take into account, the patient purchase power in the coming times. So the rising cost of healthcare, which is there, the healthcare cost is rising since many years now. So unless we solve the cost, expense, revenue jigsaw puzzle, we will not be making a profit in our clinic. We'll be investing and investing, and we don't realize actually that we are drifting into a loss or a red zone. And because of this, these rising costs in healthcare, it is time to actually reboot and reset Clinic for Economics 2.0, as I call it. So the cost obviously comes with an enhanced quality. When you say decrease the cost, you can't give higher quality. So this works in a say disproportionate manner. So what are the challenges of costing? Just look at it. Imagine, just assume that you were charging around 1,000 for a say restoration or a filling before. And let's believe that you're doing 400 dentistry, and just say add the cost of 2 PPEs and your assistant, you and your assistant. Bare minimum cost I'm going to add, let's suppose, and along with the basic things. Doesn't that make the cost of filling go up to rupees 3,000? 1,000 was the original cost, and if we just add our running expenses and other things, so doesn't it make it around 3,000? Would it really be feasible and practical for the patient to pay 3,000 for that restoration, which he was paying 1,000 earlier? But then if the option is about choosing, choosing between your life and choosing a better dentistry, what will you choose? The choice is automatically dependent upon us. So this is the scenario which we actually have to envisage. There is an inverse care law in medical field. It is actually inverse care law of physics, which this was a pun actually intended by Julian Turner in Hart in 1971. He believes that availability of good medical care varies inversely with the need of the population being served. So this means when medical care is more exposed to market forces and less where so much exposure is reduced. So it is actually a pun on the inverse care law of physics, as I said. So to the extent that healthcare becomes a commodity, and so that it becomes distributed like a champagne. So that is why rich people will get lots of it, and poor people don't get any of it. Yes, the Modi government launched the health card yesterday. So hopefully it is bound to bring in or remove the disparity among the treatment regimens. So because inequality in health is the worst inequality of all. I'd written in an article 2 months back when I wrote an article on the treatment charges part. So I written in that I see healthcare assuming good amount of importance in the coming coming decade, in the current decade which has started. Why do I say so? Because since the time immemorial, since say about 2014 or 15, the healthcare was contributed about 0.9% of the GDP, which is not even 1%. And currently also it is less than 2%, 1 point something, 1.4 or 1.7. I'm not aware of the exact figure, but yes, it is less than 2%, which is barely anything. Imagine a country where the defense budget is so much. Of course, courtesy our neighbors, the kind of neighbors we have all around us. So we know that, but these are the things we have to really understand, that these things become paramount importance. The healthcare will surely get its due soon in India as well, as I believe so. So when you come to your clinic, the calculation of value is very important, because once you know actually how to manage the cost and how to manage the expenses and business overheads, you will be actually able to control the profit in a way. As I said, we can't control the input, the number of patients walking in post-COVID. You might be whatever way you might be convincing people, unless this catastrophe gets fully over, people will surely not be say stepping out of their homes for say most of the elective work. They'll be going in only for the emergency work. So that is where the beauty of this lies. We can't actually control the input, but we can definitely control whatever we are consuming in a way of expenses, in a way of equipment buying. So that is the thing we actually need to really understand. So the four common mistakes children actually, children, I'll say, sorry, dentists don't say actually pay attention to their clinic overhead costs and expenses because of these four common reasons. The common Indian habit of procrastination. I recently co-authored an article on procrastination amongst dentists, authored by Dr. Bhavna. So it is there on the WJSR website. Procrastination amongst the dentists, it is the mother of all evils, I will say. So this is the heading of that title. Then they are just too lazy. Then they don't have the acumen to calculate it, because nobody guides us, nobody teaches us these things. And then simply they are too busy to invest time in such activity. So where do most of us fall in? I will say most of us actually say fall in the fourth category. So we actually don't know what to do about this task. We don't have the acumen to know about those calculations. So that is where the beauty lies. We will actually have to say reopen our drawers, open up our refrigerators, and we will actually realize that there are many things which are lying unused, and we have to beware of such useless expenses in future. We have to actually define our life like and love subject, as I said, Dr. Rajiv Verma very fondly puts it. We have to be realistic of where our income is coming from in clinic. What in normal business industry, what is the formula followed? It is say followed by increasing the production by working more hours, improving scheduling, by increasing the selling price. Is it possible in dentistry? We can't actually do that in dentistry, because it actually defies the Pareto's principle of 80-20. What I mean to say is that if we work for more hours, we are going to burn and break our back and neck, which is already say hurt a lot in this profession of ours, and we actually don't have any control over it for a long time. Then we are, by working more or say for unlimited hours, we are actually say defying the principle of Pareto principle. So what exactly is Pareto principle? We all know about it a little bit. I'll be just delving on it in a little bit of brief. Pareto's principle is basically the 80-20 rule. It says all over industry, universally followed, that 80% of your income comes from 20% of your patients, and the remaining 20% comes from your 80% of patients. What do I mean by this? Let's assume you are having an income of 1 lakh rupees in a month. Let's assume you are having a say number of patients as 100 in a month. So what you will see at the end of the month is that your 80,000 would have come from 20 of those 100 patients, and the remaining 20,000 will come from the remaining 80 patients. This is the Pareto's principle, and it is universally applicable. Then there is a further, say, break in Professor Juran, who actually gave this was a, say, a formula given by Italian Professor Wilfred Pareto in 1840s or 50s. So 60, 70 years down the line, Professor Juran from Europe, he actually gave the due credit to Pareto, Mr. Pareto. It is very, say, uncommon to see someone giving a credit, say, 60, 70 years down the line. But Professor Juran himself had a principle of vital few and trivial many, meaning almost the same. And he further said that there is a 80-20 existing within another 80-20. What does that mean? 8 into 8, 64, 2 into 4, 2 into 2, 4. So your 64% of income will be coming from your 4% of patients. And this might be actually, say, true in many cases. I have actually cross-checked this many a times in many of the months. Just a minute, please. So I've cross-checked it out of 12 months. Actually, many a times I have seen that at least 3 to 4 months out of 12 also, these things are actually, say, visible. So what we have to do in this smart age is to identify those 20 potential candidates every month, 20% potential candidates who will give us 80% of our income. So this is the profit or, say, logic of 80-20 or the Pareto principle. And this is the logic for my, say, treatment charges principle, which I'm going to detail with you today. So again, 80% of profits come from 20% of customers or patients. 80% complaints also come from 20% of patients. So 80% of profits come from 20% of time you spend. Similarly, 80% of sales also come from 20% of your products. So you have to actually be in sync with this, that this is a, say, scenario which actually, say, makes a difference. So the value is actually to understand for us that it is for to understand the Pareto principle. Of all the things we do in the day, only 20% things are the ones that matter, that actually matter. So we really need to be in sync with that and be, say, very aware about the fact that whatever we do, the focus is on the 20%, which is going to happen. So those 20% are going to produce 80% of the results. So we have to be very smart in this age and be in sync with the current times. So imagine a scenario when we have actually more footfall, even if we work by the original marketing principle. Let's suppose we promote and, say, advertise our clinic in sync with the DCI norms, of course. What will we have actually? We'll have more patients stepping in. Let's presume for a moment the marketing plan goes perfect and we are actually having more footfall. What do actually we have? We have more patients. What would that mean? We'll allocate and spend less time with each patient, and we'll actually, say, sacrifice or, say, rather say, undo those many of the options which will be available, and we will not be presenting them with the complete treatment plan. We might be skipping certain exceptions. Of course, ethically also that is on the wrong side, but otherwise also we need to actually, or if we do it also, we'll be, say, over rushing the treatment plan with the, say, rushed digest, information digest, I will say. So this is the thing we actually need to understand, that unless we, say, overwhelm the patient, say, we give the patient the time to digest, we will not have conversion. What we check in our clinic is not important. What gets converted in our clinic is what matters. Nobody will have 100% conversion rate. A perfect conversion ratio is considered to be 72 out of 100, 7.2 out of 10. So anyone having 6 to 7 conversions out of 10 or 60 to 70 is doing decent enough. But somebody having less than 4 or 40 out of 100 is doing bad. So we have to actually understand that the number does not matter. The quality matters. That is why I said focus at the 20%. Learn to understand, learn to, say, understand the psyche of the patient, learn to talk with the patient, understand the patient's basic needs and wants. Because unless you do it, you are not able to, you will not be able to actually, say, go about the task of your primary task of satisfying your patient. So as I speak that, one of my videos on satisfaction will go live today on YouTube, as Dr. Anantpal also told you about my YouTube channel. So do watch that video also on YouTube. There are many other videos on medical, legal, and finance and practice management on my channel. So what we do via that is we try to do more patients in less time. That is actually used as the rollerblading method of dentistry. This method is actually sometimes also used in the inline skating, which is actually used to burn more calories. But then that comes with the side effect that you put in more and you can have a nasty fall and you can break a ligament and be, say, bedridden for 6 months. So temporarily it can result in higher production. In the rollerblading method, we can temporarily have, say, more burning of calories. And similarly, if we have the same method applied in dentistry, what are the, say, side effects? High overheads, fatigue, poor health, and say lack of balance between a personal and a professional life, and leading to unhappiness and dissatisfaction. So this is the time to actually understand today's numbers. People, I go to many places in India, and people actually fondly tell me, sir, we have a OPD of 35, we have a OPD of 40, we have a OPD of 50. Does a dentist need those kind of numbers? No. If you are treating and working for, say, 7 to 8 to 9 hours, you can't treat more than actually 8 to 9. Yes, there will be an odd consultation, there will be an odd, say, denture patient, there will be an odd, say complaint patient, there will be odd, say, dressing, there will be odd reopinion. So those kind of will also fall in. But if you have to treat well, you can't treat more than actually 8 or 9. Otherwise, you'll, again, as I said, you'll burn or break your back and neck. So the charging part, how to charge. The topic today was how to charge. So this all base was for that part only. So this actually needs to be understood from, again, going back to the Pareto principle. This is why I just gave you a very brief introduction about that. So we first need to analyze where does our 80% income come from. As I said, for that, again, the benchmark is your record keeping only. You need to know what are those out of, let's suppose we assumed a scenario wherein you are having 1 lakh income and 100 patients a month, and your 20 patients contributing your 80,000 rupees or 80% of income. So you really need to understand which are the services which are the most selling ones. Why do I say so? Breaking that up will lead to actually arrive at that conclusion that these are the selling services. Let's suppose you analyze and you come up with a crown and bridge, and your root canal falls in, let's say, less than 5% or in that 20% category, which is not contributing. So why did you invest on the root canal, say, armamentarium last year? That will be the question you have to answer actually. So this is the beauty of this, that you realize that these are your selling points and you invest accordingly that. Devoid of, say, any FOMO approach or Facebook say approach, I will say fear of missing out. So this approach actually tells you to walk like a horse with the, say, bands on the side, where you actually realize that those services which are not falling in our 80% category, they'll be surely a lot in number. But those 20% services which are giving you 80% revenue will surely be, say, lesser in number. So why I say so? You can be a periodontist in profession, but your primary earning may be coming from crown and bridge. So the start thus has to be from the minute aspects. Go back to your record keeping. That is the only way you can actually learn and, say, realize that your say income sources are from where. So go back to record keeping, check yearly figures of cost. So now add your new costs in that. I've taken a scenario where I have actually arrived at a figure with my calculations, whatever I'm going to. Of course, as I said, the full buck is not settled yet on what to buy, what not to buy. So I've just presumed on the higher side of 25%. Let's presume we were having expenses of rupees 100. Now they will be increasing by 25%. At this juncture, I want to tell you, finance point of view, whenever you buy an equipment, a fixed asset, like a negative ion generator, like a fogging machine, like a HEPA filter, like any armamentarium which has a life, like an equipment, like a gadget, you will not add full cost of that. Let's suppose that equipment comes in for 1 lakh rupees. Most of the medical and the dental equipment, unless otherwise specified, come with a depreciation or a written down value of 15%, 1.5. So that means if that equipment is costing 1 lakh rupees, you will put in 15,000 as the cost in your expense list. You will not put in 1 lakh. So here also, if you assume 25% of that increased cost, you will have to add that portion of the cost into that, which you will be incurring for the year. And that is very important for you to realize. Then how do you decide the raise? Do you make a raise in all the services in your clinic? The answer would be a big no. Why do I say that? Because you really don't want to send a wrong message to your target group. Again, one of my YouTube videos on goal setting and target audience or target group went live on YouTube channel. So you can catch a glimpse of that 1 hour, 45 to 60-minute video. It will be there. That is a session I taken up in my free WhatsApp group. Like the WDA guys, even I am trying to give back to my society, running WhatsApp groups since past 3.5 years, where I occasionally take classes on various subjects of, again, practice management, MLE and finance. So in this age of smartphones, smartness is also expected from us, because we actually are not supposed to raise our service charges or raise our treatment charges in all the equipment. The one service which you are not doing at all, let's suppose your denture you're doing once every 3 months, and in the year you have done about 4 dentures, and that falls in those 20% revenue generating services, which are handful in number in 80% of the services. Means those services which are huge in the list, but they are generating only 20% of the revenue. That is what the beauty is. So why do you need to increase charges or for those things which are you doing less only? Because in any ways, if you're doing 4 dentures, even if you increase by say 1, you'll be actually earning only 25% out of it, which is just a portion of that. Overall contribution will be less than say 2 to 3% in the in the long term. So that is for you to realize that you don't need to actually. People do actually the reverse. जो चीज बिकती है उसको कम बढ़ाते हैं. They keep on sticking to that same charge for so long time that they actually fail to realize that this is the patient is there because you do that work well. You are offering that service well. Patient is not sticking to you for price. Patient comes and sees your clinic decorum, your way of working, your way of conveying the services, your way of your staff, your handling of the patient, your internal marketing takes over once you are in this clinic. Price is a later 4th or 5th factor in that, but we keep on sticking to the same price for the past 5 years sometimes. So a simple formula would I advise for treatment charges is to increase 25 to 30% in the 80% contribution category services. Means those 20% of services which are giving us 80% revenue, and those services which are giving 20% revenue, those we increase by 10 to 15%. That is the average figure I have taken up considering our expenses. So how do we come to those figures? Because if you raise your services by 25 to 30, it sends across a wrong message to your target audience. The ones you're treating, that the doctor has gone expensive, is gone expensive in all. So your focus is not to lose out on immediate patient post-COVID. You have to send across a right message that the services which you are actually, which you know are selling the most, have to be increased, because thereby the number of volume can be justified. So let's just have a look. If you plan to increase via Pareto principle, those 80% of services which fall, of course, they are 80% of revenue generating services which fall in the 20% category. If they are increased by 25 to 30%, average I've taken 27.5 of 25 to 30. The percentage contributing to the output is 22%. 27.5% of of 80, not of 100. So the corresponding result would be 22%. And similarly, if we do the same 10 to 15 for our services for 12.5 is the average figure for that. In those big list of services, those 80% services, huge list, which are contributing only 20% to our revenue, which each clinic will have to identify. Let's suppose my clinic is having maximum revenue from endo and crown and bridge. Those are the 20% services or the 2 services which are giving me 80% of revenue every month. My other services like perio, scalings, other prosto work, or any other pedo work, or any even oral surgery add to that, those fall in the 20% category. So I'll increase those services just by 10 to 15%. If I take their contribution to the output, that will be 12.5 of 20 will be 2.5. So this is the way you actually add up the revenue. How much is your total contribution to the revenue? 22% we got from the last figure and 2.5 from the above. The total increase, if we get it, will be 24.5%. So which means actual 25% increase in revenue. Remember, our charges were also, expenses were also on the higher side by 25% we have presumed. So let me give you a few practical scenarios. Then these will be the scenarios which will be there, say, without increasing of the charges, but post-COVID. So this is the first of the scenarios which we actually come across is when we say, we assume that we are having 1 lakh income. I'll be assuming 1 lakh income. And we presume usually expenses in the 50%. Going by the presumptive system also, our expenses are presumed in the range of 50%. Somebody can have 40, somebody can have 60, 55, 50, whatever, but average is presumed at 50. I have presumed 50 in this example throughout. So expenses and overheads will be 50,000. So my carry home will be 50% as well, 50,000. 1 lakh minus 50,000. This is my actual, say, carry home income. So imagine our, say, as I said, expenses will increase by 25%. So 25% of that 50,000, what we presumed in the past slide as expenses. So this figure will remain constant. We have to actually be very, say, sure of it, what I'm sharing right now. So if you assume that you add 25% to this 50, your expenses become 62,500, 25% of this 50,000. So if you don't increase the charges, your carry home will come down to 1 lakh minus 62, 37,500. It will be a down of 25%. This is the scenario. You are getting the immediate revenue post-COVID, which is actually highly unlikely to happen. We all have started almost by June or July. Now this is the third month. We are doing our limited bit of dentistry in these past 3 months after being almost fully closed for, say, May and June, April and May, and some portion of March as well. Some of us started in May end also, but most of us started in June, July and August, 2.5 months into this. So we all know what are the figures we are generating. So this is the thing we actually have to realize, that if we have increased expenses and if we don't increase our charges, our expenses will go down by 25%. Now imagine a different scenario. Your rent falls by 25%. जितना आप collect कर रहे थे, let's suppose we have presumed that figure at 1 lakh, 25% fall, which is a very highly likely possibility. So the revenue falls by 1 lakh to 75,000. I have presumed the expenses in this range only, 50% of the same. So let's just imagine a scenario that the clinic overheads are in 50%. So 50% of that 75 would be 37,500. So if you add a 25% increase, which is going to happen, let's see, it comes out to 9,375. I've just rounded it off to 9,500 for the ease of calculation. So if we add to our expenses, our total expenses will become 47. So the carry home would be 75 because it has actually decreased. 75 minus 47, the figure is 28,000. Imagine agar income 25% अपनी गिरती है, with our increased expenses, if we don't increase, our carry home will reduce by 44%. काम 50,000 लेके जा रहे थे, now we will take home 28%. Give me the third scenario. Quite a possibility that the income falls by 33%. First imagine full, then we imagine 25%. Now this is 33%. So the income falls at again 1 lakh to 67,000. Expenses again assumed in the range of 50%, 33,500. So adding the enhanced expenses to this list, so rounded off 8,375 to 8,500. Total expenses become 42,000. So if you decrease, what is your carry home? Your carry home will be 25,000. So for 33% fall in income, your carry home reduces by 50%. So scenario 4, which is again not a remote possibility, your income falls by actually by 50%. And actually, this is the thing which is happening to most of us. We are down by almost 50% in today's scenario. Let's suppose our total collection, which used to be 1 lakh, is now down to 50,000. Add and your expenses again presumed at 50%. Of course, the fixed and the variable cost will ensure that the fall is not exactly 50%. We will have more than this expenses that I'll be dealing up in the end part of this presentation. What I presumed and where does the catch lie? So you add your increased expenses or enhance your added to those lists. Again, that will be 6250, rounded off to 6500, and your total expense becomes 31,500. So your carry home will be 18,500. What used to be a total carry home is your monthly income presently. So naturally, for every 50% fall in income, which currently most of us are facing, your carry home will reduce by 63%. You will just carry home 37%, just 18,000. कहाँ आप 50,000 घर लेके जा रहे थे, अब आप 18,000 घर लेके जा रहे हो. This is the actual scenario after paying back all the salaries, and this is the thing we actually don't realize. So what is the solution? This was a scenario where I gave you the assumption that 25% of the charges applied increase, 25% increase in charges of the expenses if we don't increase our income. Now we will apply the formula I've given you, and I'll be again telling you, and we see the scenario in those cases. Similar thing. So what is the solution? The coveted formula. The coveted formula for Mr. India. As I said, I am a former big fan of Bollywood as well. If you remember the 1987 Mr. India film by, say, Anil Kapoor and late Shri Devi. So the villain Mogambo has been, say, touted to be speaking one language. वो formula मुझे दे दो. Obviously, he didn't know that the formula, say, lied in the watch which Anil Kapoor was wearing. So, but that is the way I have devised this formula for Mr. Indian Dentist. So you have to plan to increase, as I said, via Pareto principle. These are the repeat slides again to tell you the mindset of the same. Your 80% revenue generating services. As I gave you the example, my two services, let's suppose, Endo and Prosto or Crown and Bridge. So those things are actually contributing to my list of, I'm offering 10 services broadly in my clinic. Out of those, 2 services are Endo and Crown and Bridge. So they become 20% of the services, and they are generating about 80%. If I'm say earning 1 lakh, let's suppose I'm collecting 1 lakh, 80,000 is courtesy those 2 treatments. Yes, they are less in number, but they are more paying. So those 2 treatments or 20% treatments escalated by 25 to 30. Our average I will take at 27.5. So that the contribution to the total raise is 22%. You will ask how this 22 came. 27.5% is from 100. So if we have to calculate from 80%, the contribution will be 22%. You have to imagine that the contribution to that factor is 80 only. You have to take a contribution for 20 for 80, so that comes out to 22. Similarly, for those other 8 services, oral surgery, pedo, perio, whatever, those list of 8 services or 80% of services, they are giving me total combined revenue of 20,000 or 20% of the total revenue from the figure I have assumed. So again, this will vary from clinic to clinic. What I'm giving you just a roadmap. So if you plan to increase those figures by 10 to 15%, so average would be 12.5. So that contribution to raise would be 2.5%. So if you add up, you'll get close to 4.5 or close to 25% increase in revenue. I presumed it at 25% so that you actually say get a figure close to, for the ease of calculation, I presumed that. So now let's apply the formula in the same 4 situations. Same 100%, 25% loss, 33% loss, and 50% loss. If you apply the formula, and of course apply your enhanced charges as well, what will be the difference? Just have a look. Same scenario 5, similar to scenario 1. You are grossing 1 lakh, no fall in income. Again, unlikely possibility in COVID, post-COVID times. But let's say apply that 25% raising charging formula, because this is the contributed percentage. We are not say increasing actually the whole. This is the contributing 22 plus 2.5. 24.5% is included in this. So I've just taken it on. We apply this contributory figure to this whole number. So the revenue becomes close to 1,25,000. But our expenses were 50%, 50% of the original amount, which will be 50,000. Now, those say, and we assume that our expenses will increase as we presumed this scenario 1. 50,000 plus 12,500, 62,500. So what will be your carry home amount? 1,25,000 minus 62,500. The answer would be 62,500. What were you carrying back home? You were carrying back 50,000, we presume. So post-COVID, if you increase charges by say 25 to 30% in your 20% services, which are giving you more revenue, and by 10 to 15% in those services which are not giving you much of revenue, just the 20% of revenue, those 80 category services, even with your enhanced say costing or the expenses, you're carrying home more than 25%. 62,500 you are carrying home. We presume 50,000 as the carry home amount. This is the beauty of this formula. You will, even with your enhanced charges, you will carry home more. Your charges, your enhanced will not justify, because you are not blindly increasing the charges, which has a potential to decrease your revenue. You are increasing selectively. This is the way you will actually say carry home more. So scenario 6, a fall of 25%, a highly likely possibility. As I said, we were say carrying home, we were earning 1 lakh. Let's suppose we are earning now 75,000. So the rest of the figures I've taken up similar manner. So let's apply the raise to this 75,000. You will arrive at a figure of 93750. Again, I have rounded it off to 94,000 for the ease of calculation. So overheads will be still in the range of 37,500. Add that 25% increase we presumed in the scenario earlier, rounding off the 9375 amount, and total expenses become 47,000 as they had become in that scenario, but in the earlier scenario. But in that scenario, we had not actually say presumed the raise in services. So what are we carrying home now? We are carrying home 94,000 minus 47. We are carrying home 47,000. So even with a 25% dip in your revenue, you have a carry home dip of only 6%. 50,000 में से सिर्फ आपका 3,000 कम हुआ और 6% कम हुआ. That is the only thing I want to convey. If you increase your charges selectively, so this comes with this benefit, that even with 25% fall in income and with increased charge, say increased expenses, you will still carry home just 6% less, which is not say major amount, but this 25% fall will be a major amount. Now take the similar scenario. We have presumed in the scenario 3 before, 33% fall. In that scenario, our carry home with a 33% fall, I've missed the calculation part here, but to tell you the end figure, our carry home will reduce just by 16%. Similarly, in scenario 8, which I said most of us are currently having. So which are currently having, Ananya, which we are currently having. So with a 50% fall in income, our carry home will reduce by only 38%. So almost 1/3, if I may say so. So if you are not, what we were carrying back home earlier with a 50% fall, if you go back to those slides, you were carrying home 37%, a fall of 63. Now it is reverse, a fall of 38, but you're carrying home 62%. So much more. So that is the say bottom line of today. Even if 33% or 50% is there, the fall is not substantial if we stick to this formula of raising our charges selectively in our practice. And that is the message I want to send across to all of you today. Because hiking all types of pricing will not going to serve much of purpose. It will send only a wrong message to your say target group, that you have raised your charges exorbitantly. And that is what we actually don't want to convey to our target group. We want to rather convey that we are offering guidelines and we have increased our charges only in the selected services. And the number one comes in that list is your consultation. Don't hike your consultation by too much. Let's suppose you're charging 200, maybe make it 250. Don't make it exorbitantly 500. Just giving an example. You may be charging 500 already. You may be charging rupees 100 already. So you have to decide what you want to increase in that scenario. Because in marketing, we commonly use this scenario. If you can't convince them, then confuse them. This is a scenario wherein you are actually hiking only a few of 20% of your services, which may be 2 to 3 in number actually, and you are getting more than desired result. This is actually about knowing your art, knowing your skill, and knowing your business. This is the other part of that. In this scenario, we always call it 80-20 principle is applicable in many other fields also. Whenever it comes to practice management, we always say 80% is still your primary skill, and the 20% is your soft skill or your practice management part. Of course, coupled with other aspects as well, but skill will still remain the temporary. But this is about knowing your art and using smarts in that. You have not at all increased your charges exorbitantly, but you're still getting more than the desired result, or at least the desired result. Now, even if we are having a fall in income, we should need to understand that that fall is not affecting us actually. Why do I say so? Because our needs have only say categorized itself. Our wants are almost gone. We are not going for shopping. We are not going to malls. We are not going to multiplexes. We are not going for vacations. So all those things have considerably reduced. So even if we are having 50% fall in income, the carry home is reducing by 38%, which was actually a portion of our wants only, or the ones we indulge for pleasure. So in today's times, we should be lucky if our needs are justified. Remember, if you don't increase the charges, you are carrying home 63% less. You can't say run your home in 37%. That is for sure. 50,000 का 37% आप डालो 18,000 के आसपास आएगा 18,500. You can't run your household in 18,500. That is for you to understand. So the problem for all this is that where does it start from? You actually have to say be very particular about your record keeping, because from there only you can make a segregation or analysis कि आपकी 80% income or 20% income कहाँ से आती है. In any case, the DCI guidelines 2014, the revised guidelines have made it actually mandatory for every dentist to maintain records, and those to be maintained for 3 years. So if you are not following that, you're falling on the wrong side of the law as well. So you are supposed to do that as well. So solution is realistically the other common way is to calculate via the lab bills. For those who don't have the old records, yes, start your record keeping from today if you're not doing it. But for those who are not having it, for smaller clinics especially, for most of the small to middle level clinics, their actual lab work is mostly accountable for their most of their income. Their 60 to 80% of their say income comes from their lab. So for that, they usually have the informal or the kacha lab bills, as we call them. For calculation purpose, they usually actually retain them. So the first catch here is that what are the catches? I presume certain things. So the only thing is that you have taken 50% expenses as average, where in reality the expenses can be 30 to 40 or 60 to 70, less or more, depending upon the size of the clinic and the one it is offering. So I have kept 50,000 as the carry home amount, fixed that amount. So I have made the assumptions according to that amount only. So these are the few catches. Then for every percentage fall in income, I have proportionately reduced the expenses or overheads, which actually sometimes does not happen, because there are some charges which are fixed in our clinic, the rental, the salaries, the say consumption patterns of certain fixed materials, which are there, which we have to say invest in, especially the emergency drugs. So there are many other things which actually say depend upon our working, like our material routine consumption, our lab bills. These will be affected if the clinic does not have a desired footfall. So in actuality, some fixed expenses may still be there. What does that mean? What does it mean? It means is that your carry home will be further less, because your expenses will be more. I presume it in 50% range. So again, this is just to give you an idea, because the actual calculation it will never be same for any two clinics. So my aim is just to give you a roadmap for calculation. The only saving grace in this, even in spite of taking the catch, is that I have presumed revenue on the higher side for a small to middle level clinic and expenses at 50% range, which will genuinely not be affected great deal, even if there is a rise or fall of revenue. So this is the, I've taken the figures at that level, which are not going to affect that much. So the precautions we have to take is that we do not indulge in FOMO approach anymore, the fear of missing out. This impulsive buying approach will have to be done away. We actually need to say understand our selling points of the clinic and then market ourselves accordingly. All bargain buys also, as I gave you the example of the flowable composite, the consumption of 10 per year. If you're getting it at a long expiry and at a say cost which is there, you can still think of it. But if the expiry is not even say great deal, and accordingly you have to say shell out more money also. Remember, there are, it is not, we only look at the direct cost. There are 16 kind of costs which are there, which are applicable. And cost of storage, cost of pilferage, cost of say deterioration, cost of expiry, all those things also come in that. There, those things also have to be taken into account. Then we have to actually look at our material buying pattern consumption wise. As I said, open up the rest, say drawers and your refrigerators. Say shun out those things. There might be at least 10 of those things in your drawer or refrigerator which might be occupying space and have been rarely used even once or twice, but they continue to occupy space or there. So material expiry and wastage of materials are the two, by the assistant, are the two biggest thieves of any dental clinic, which usually go unnoticed. The material expiry and the waste of material by the assistant. So all those things we have to re-estimate our demands. Again, for that, the basic guideline is your record keeping only. So if you are not doing, if you have been doing those mistakes, remember it is time to correct those mistakes, because we all do make mistakes. So which we keep on doing. Believe me, nobody will come in our clinic and actually tell you these small little things, these small little mistakes which we are doing actually, but it is up to us that we should realize this sooner or later. And we should be thankful to COVID. Apart from many bad things what it has given to us, it has actually given so much positivity. The important thing is one of the digital utilization of the digital platform. Courtesy, I'm able to speak before you. Then it has say made a pause and a temporary stop to our lives to have a look at it personally and professionally, wherein we can actually analyze where our income is going, where in life we were actually heading for. So we need to realize these small little mistakes and do the demand estimation part in the COVID, say very carefully. So will there be any newer equipment needs? Fumigator, HEPA filter, fogging machine, where does the buck finally settle on? Only time will tell. But one thing is for sure, inventory control is going to assume more importance in the coming times. As I said, I'll repeat at the cost of repetition, I'll say it again. You can't control the say patient coming in or patient paying you in a way. You can't actually have a control over that, but you can actually have a control over what goes out or what is your expense or what is your consumption. So if you apply the Pareto principle, you can actually hope to say stay in the race and not lose much. And even if there is a drop in the number of patients, the loss in carry home income won't be much. So I will show you the numbers of costing of overheads and expenses in my next session on 30th August. So remember the Pareto principle, it is the 20% cause and 80% effect. 20% effort gives you 80% of the results. So this is a formula which has been adhered to since the past 150 years. So there is no reason that it is not going to be true for all of us. We actually need to realize the importance of it. We never actually calculate those things in our practice. So unless the above is done, the management of inventory expenses and say overheads, along with the treatment charges balancing part, our balance sheet will continue to bleed. It will be in the red continually. So we shall discuss expenses overhead along with managing personal expenses in the next session on Sunday, 30th August. So the treatment charges vis-a-vis the competition part, the last point in today's presentation. So never ever be afraid of competition. It always makes us thrive, but never compete unhealthily. I always believe that my first competition is always me, myself. I have to see what I have been doing in the past 1 year or what I was doing at this time so that I can improve accordingly. Then competition is never unhealthy. It only makes you realize or unearth your hidden potentials. So know yourself, The only thing I always say in practice management is practice management always begins with the first aspect, knowing yourself. Then have a mission, vision and mission for yourself and your clinic, and create your goals, both long term and short term, where you want to see yourself in the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the line. Then knowing your patients, knowing your target group, knowing your audience. Be very clear in your thought process, what you're going to convey. Be very eloquent in your communication skills. Create your differentiators. Create your brand via your differentiator. Target newer patients, courtesy, say, through your, say, already having VVIP, or say, what I will say, as your brand ambassador patients. And never forget to retain old patients. Retention of patients, old patients, is one of the biggest, say reasons for success for any clinic. Then keep innovating. So the carry home plan for today, there will be always someone who will charge less. There will be an original Mona Lisa and there will be a discounted Mona Lisa. So we all make mistakes. Even those who are experienced like me in these matters still make it. It's okay. We are all humans. We are prone to mistake. So don't fret or frown over it. Life is a learning curve. So try not to repeat those mistakes as much as you can. Always make new ones. Never repeat your old mistake. So success is really a relative term. Nobody of us is perfect. Don't even try to be a one. Strive to improve continually each day. Always be a better version of yourself, because you're answerable to only yourself. We all see a lot of memes on dentistry on various Facebook groups. Don't curse or crib your beautiful profession, because we are known to create smiles. If you have not been rich and successful through dentistry, my advice would be very bluntly to say it, please change it. Because successful life is very different from happy life. And that is the carry home message for today. There will be always someone who will do it, who is willing to do it cheaper. But the bitterness of poor quality remains long after the sweetness of low price is forgotten. So thank you so much for your patience. So before I leave for query session, just a few announcements, as Dr. Nanpal also told you in the beginning. So I'm having a YouTube channel for all my, say, friends and colleagues, all my dentist friends. This channel is only for dentists, not for my patients. If you, say, forget the channel link, just go to YouTube and search Dr. Bhavdeep Ahuja. Subscribe and hit the bell icon. I keep on posting 1 or 2 videos. As I speak, at 1 o'clock and then again at 5 o'clock, there will be 2 videos going online, and they'll be going on till that, say, coming Friday. Every day 3 videos will be going online. So kindly, there are all kind of videos available on, say, practice management, medical legal ethics, and say, finance, of course, for dentists. So you can subscribe to the channel and get benefited. So this is my link. All my, say links are with my name only, Dr. Bhavdeep, without any space, dot or underscore, Dr. Bhavdeep. My website link, my social media presence, again with my name only, Dr. Bhavdeep, on Facebook, Insta, and Twitter. So those of you who are interested in reading, I write a column for Idea Times on practice management since January 2017. It is about to complete 4 years. So part 44th was published in the August. All of them are available on my website, ideatimes, drbhavdeep.com/ideatimes.html. All those are KB size files. You can download them and get benefited. Then a finance article series is also there on WJSR. So you can download that as well. The link is there on the screen for all of you. So please do send me your valuable feedback, either in the message, or either on the, say, page where the session is happening, or on the, say, on my personal number, wherever you can. Bookers and brickbats, both would be welcome in equal measure. So thank you once again. And I stop my share for all the, say, queries to be taken up.
Mahajan?
Yes, Dr. Abhishek, I'm done. Let's take up the questions.
I've got 2 questions. till Mr.
जी.
Dr. Mahajan comes back. This from Dr. Nikhil Sharma. Is it better to keep treatment charges card posted at reception chamber, or doctor should be quoting charges?
In today's time, it is not still mandatory to say post your charges in your waiting area. But if the draft, say, draft version of clinical establishment bill, which was there, it goes through in toto what it was, then the display of charges would be mandatory as well. As of now, it is not. So I advise all the discussions and all the consultations should happen in the closed chamber. And although DCI say encourages you to place you, if you are having a website, the DCI encourages you to place your website, your charges on your website, so that the patient can make a healthy informed decision or a healthy informed choice, whatever it can in a manner, so that the colleagues are, the patients are able to choose easily amongst that and make a wise decision as to what to do. You're muted.
How long can these protocols be sustained economically, or will these protocols be permanently indefinitely?
Whenever you have actually increased charges, it is always advisable to stick to this kind of a formula. Of course, COVID-19 was an awakening for all of us. We suddenly had a say influx of heavy charges. So whenever we say encounter such a situation in our life further on, nobody would like to see another pandemic in the coming future. But this is the way to actually go about the charges. The percentage can vary. The 25% can vary as per clinic as well. So it depends upon your own data. The bigger clinics might need a 30% increase. The smaller clinics might be needing that 15 to 18% increase. So my idea is just to give you a roadmap for these services, depending upon how much are your increased costs. But for that, you have to go back to your drawing board or your balance sheet and check what your numbers are and what your current investment is, and multiply and add the same and arrive at a figure that this number is actually at this percentage. As I said, just take the depreciation portion for that equipment. Let's suppose you buy disinfection equipment worth say 10,000 per month today. What will be there? Sorry, let's suppose it is for 1,000 per month. In 1 year, it will be 1,20,000. Let's suppose you have bought 2 gadgets of 1 lakh. Depreciation for that would be 15,000 each. Add that as well, make it 1.5 lakh. So if you are having expenses, let's suppose in the range of 5 lakhs earlier for the year, we are talking about the annual figures. So add that 1.5. 1.5 is what percentage of that? It will be about 33% of that approximately. So correspondingly, you have to make an increase in that manner. So you will know your number, because the basic of the increase would be your existing costs. This formula was just to give you a roadmap for what you have to decide, what you have to do. The way you have the procedures, you have to, again, you will decide what are your 20% services that are giving you 80% revenue. You will decide what your expenses are. You will decide what you invested in and what is increase of that percentage. So accordingly, you fit your own numbers in my formula and you'll get the result. So this is the way you actually go on increasing. Whenever there is a catastrophe, you have to actually go it in a similar manner. It is not advisable to increase in all the services, because it sends out a wrong message to the public that you are actually becoming a very exorbitant dentist in all aspects, especially if the same is not concomitant with your brand formation in the clinic. If you are not, say, decor wise that heavily, say, built up, the same message is not taken up very kindly by many of the patients. Then again, for that you have to realize or understand what is your target group. If it is primarily lower middle class, they will not accept a heavy change very easily. But if that target group is on the higher side, it is from a, say, elite group, they'll only need a premium service. They don't mind about the charges part usually. So this is the thing. All these factors work in concomitant. So that is the reason I gave you the mantra at the end also for competition, and the carry home gyan also for that reason.
Thank you so much, sir.
There is one more question. Is it better to keep our charges fixed, or should support according to patient capacity and difficulty of the case?
It is always best to diagnose first. You should keep standardized charges for standardized services. But if any case is there which demands extra effort and extra materials from you, the golden rule is to convey the patient beforehand. The best thing is to convey the patient beforehand. Because after the treatment, you tell your charges for root canal, let's suppose 2000, let's suppose these are 2000 rupees. And at the end of the treatment, he said, आपकी canal curved थी, root curved थी, आप में extra एक canal निकली, so I'm charging you 2500 or 3000. The patient will mind that. That is where the importance of diagnosis comes in. Diagnose first, make a treatment plan, convey to the patient that normal charges are this, but because of this reason, I'll be charging you this amount. Accordingly, you can say go about this say task of conveying to the patient, but don't convey it afterwards. That always creates bad blood between you and the patient.
Sir, I have seen some clinics displaying their treatment charges in the reception area. Is it a good way of doing practice, or it should not be done? Because obviously, as you told earlier, treatment charges varies from patient to patient, case to case. So keeping a fixed charge is like a rate list. Like, we are not waiters or we are not working in a restaurant. We are service providers. So obviously our treatments. But what is your view on that?
There was a first query on that aspect only. I'll detail more on it. So if the draft version of the clinical establishment goes through in toto as it has been proposed, then it would be mandatory for us to place a display list in the waiting area. On the flip side, DCI encourages in its revised guidelines 2014, DCI encourages this, that you should place a say rate list on your website so that the patient can make a healthy informed decision. I personally am not a very strong advocate of this. I always believe that the consultation should happen in the closed chamber of the dentist. And yes, whatever it is, the same has to be conveyed to the patient first and to be told very clearly. But yes, if it varies from case to case, overall, if the cases are standardized, those charges should remain stagnant and should not vary according to the class of the patient. Again, this is my theory. I charge the same from a local patient or an NRI for a similar case of a similar case. But yes, if the case is complicated, be it a local patient, be it an NRI patient, the charges will vary according to the complexity of the case and not on the economics of the patient.
Like in today's world, the competition is enormous. Like, for instance, if I store a stone from my clinic, so it will land in approximately 12 clinics. I can guarantee it. And my charges are I am the most in my region. So, but we still face problem, like obviously you discussed earlier also, that you are very costly. How it is very difficult sometimes to convince the patient. Now, with passage of time, we have learned to convince the patient, but still on patient's perspective point of view, we are still costly.
The only difference lies in creating a differentiator or on the dentist end, and for the patient end, the same is perceived as a value thing. If the patient gets value, the only problem is somebody is paying you 10 rupees, he will expect a value of 10.5 minimum or 11 minimum. But if somebody gets a value of 9.2, 9.5 out of 10, the patient will say, "Maza nahi aaya, utna wo acha nahi tha experience." Because when you do the treatment part, the two aspects which are taken into account are how the patient was treated, aise bhi or waise bhi. I always say that word. Aise bhi means treatment wise, or waise bhi means your behavior wise, your communication wise, your staff wise. Then once the patient is in, your internal marketing takes over. How you deal with the patient, how you talk with the patient, how your staff behaves with the patient, how much you made the patient wait. Waiting time can be a very small thing, but it is sometimes a bigger factor. Record keeping, it becomes a big factor sometimes. I can quote my examples. At least once or twice every week I get this from my patients, that we come to you because you make us wait less. We come to you because you have all our kacha chitha, all our record. These might be very trivial factors, but these, at least I say once or twice I listen from my patients. So these can also be differentiating factors. You're doing that thing and conveying to the patient. Equal communication is very important to the patient. You might be doing perfect things, but unless you're conveying those to the patient, that what you are doing, the same will not be appreciated by the patient. But once this is appreciated by the patient, price is no limit. You can charge any amount from your patient.
Another question from me. I have seen various clinics who are giving packages to their patient. family package, scaling full family, 4,000 rupees, and become a member. We will give you 10% discount. Become a gold member. So is it really effective in practice?
There are two aspects to it: ethical aspect and professional aspect. So ethically speaking, if you do it and promote it, it is not allowed. But unless you are just conveying into the inner circle of your clinic, just your patients know it, and you're not say conveying it over any digital media, not doing any advertisement of any kind, then it is fine in that. Number one. The number two part is the professional part. People get insecure and they get mentally secure once they are sure that this much amount is bound to come. They don't believe in the power of profession of dentistry. I have seen myself those days in my clinic in my early years. I will say I'm into 21st year. I'm talking of 7th or the 8th year. I remember sometimes for the 23 days of the month, I didn't have actually not even 20% of the income. But for the next 7 days, I worked and I had 3x of the normal income. If let's suppose X is the normal income, in 7 days, I earned 3 times of that. So our profession has so much power. We just undervalue it, and we don't just try to value it properly. But yes, I am not a very strong advocate of these say family plans or say floater packages. Dentistry is a beautiful profession. It should never be devalued. I consider those things as a devalue of the profession in that sense.
Dr. Bhavdip, I have one doubt from since long. I had one doubt since long that we being a medical professional and categorizing it into a fixed rate system, it becomes very difficult to commoditize the treatments. Suppose, for example, an implant, a root canal, we cannot commoditize a treatment that implant case for a particular X person would be same for the person Y, depending on the bone, and there are many variables. So there is a very fine line between our profession and making it commodity wise. So what is your opinion on this, doctor?
See, we don't sell materials, we sell services. And
Exactly.
services are actually need to be valued based on that only. As I said earlier, answering to a query, we actually need to diagnose first, and that is where the skill the first thing is all those factors apart from your internal marketing tools, your decorum, your way of talking, your communication, your staff behavior, your waiting time, these things aside for a moment. But what do you diagnose first as a dentist? That is your primary skill. As I said, that is irreplaceable.
Exactly.
And those things actually do play a role. In today's times, people don't even give a patient ear to the patient's complaint. Most of the patients have this common complaint from each doctor, not the dentist, but each doctor. Doctor ने हमारी बात ढंग से सुनी भी नहीं. If the pain is getting relieved by drinking cold water, you know bloody what it is. Why do you need to interrupt the patient in between? हाँ पता ठीक है ठंडे पानी ठीक हो तो बैठ जाओ. We just jump into the treatment bypassing all the protocols. That is where we can actually, that is where I said, as I mentioned, the rollerblading method of dentistry. We actually need to understand the patient's need and the wants. And when do we do that? When we indulge in a one-to-one consultation. I've written a book also in it on first consultation. So it was published recently in the lockdown only by Lambert Publishing. So the importance of first consultation for dentists. So the first consultation actually plays a huge role in your conversion ratio. You get to know actually what the patient is. The patient might have walked in with a say open cavity in 3/6 and say open and shut case of a root canal. Of course, not discounting the X-ray and the radiologic or the other investigations. Just keep those aside for a moment. And the patient walked in with pain in 3/6, and suddenly you see 4, 5, and 4, 6 missing. The first human approach would be what? Man mein laddu phuta. That is the common approach. The Cadbury ad we go by, because our thinking is that this will be the more paying side. So we start convincing the patient for this. What I advocate is treat these services, what the patient has walked in, the chief complaint, with the 3 E's: efficaciously, effectively, and efficiently. Do it and yes, as a part of your duty, do the IND, do the other IND. The first IND we call the income and expenditure. In this case, I'll call it information and education. Convey to the patient that what are the harms of not replacing a missing tooth, and let the patient be pulled back towards you with your services. Do not push it like a car salesman. We have to be wary of that, crossing that line of being a service seller and a car salesman. There is a very thin line between that, and many people cross on the wrong side. Many people cross on the wrong side many a times. So that is the thing, we have to be wary of that very many times in clinic.
Exactly, Dr. Bhavdeep. There is a very thin line that we need to take care as a service professional and as a salesperson. Thank
Yes,
you.
exactly.
Yes.
Dr. Anand sir, you have any question?
Yeah, there is one question here. Just a second. In higher OPD cases, how to lessen the waiting time? It's very difficult after scheduling and time management.
The first line in the carry home gyan was know yourself. Know yourself does not mean what kind of a person you are. That means how much work or how much time you need to finish your work in a particular amount of time. Let's suppose you are capable. That is where again the diagnosis part comes in. You are sure that this tooth will need a single sitting root canal. You take, let's suppose, 60 minutes for that. Keep a buffer zone of 15 minutes. Give the next appointment after 75 minutes. Sorry, सवा घंटे के बाद appointment दीजिए अगली. So that 15 minutes can be covered up. So that is the way I work, because I know that how much time I am actually going to take in my practice for a case. I rarely keep my patient in the waiting. Then there is another formula by a European professor, Margaret Sumption, ASAP funda, which we call it. So ASAP funda means you acknowledge the person at the arrival itself. And if you are, say, running late, so you always inform the patient, because patients believe that there might be actually, say, there might be you will be, say, is it the disturbance at my end? There the patients might believe that there is no bigger insult than being ignored. So you always have to be wary of that fact. So divide your appointments accordingly. Again, in appointments also, I prefer prioritization in the matter of 80-20 as well. What are my most paying patients? Most paying patients will be treated in my peak time when I am the freshest. And those trivial things like extractions or like other things will get a time which is not a priority time for me. So I use 80-20 in my appointment system as well. So you don't need to keep the patient waiting. So there is a different scenario that I follow, and this system I've been following since 2007-8 now. I don't keep any of my patients in waiting as such.
I have been using practice management softwares and other things, and like you, nobody waits in my practice. But sometimes I face this from my many patients. डॉक्टर साहब आपका काम कम है, आपके यहाँ पे कोई बैठा ही नहीं होता.
See, the only thing is people will make it. People still say to me, I have two comments that I receive every month, like the ones I told you I receive every week. Number one, आपको बस कोई आता नहीं है. Number two, number two was I forgot that point. So these things I keep on listening to the people. What matters at the end of the day is what is in your pocket and what you don't need to be answerable to everyone. So the second comment I usually get it, आपने कितने दिन हुए clinic खोला? When I tell them it is 21st year of practice, they are shocked. So the maintenance levels again have been pretty decent enough compared to, yes, it is not say again, I've renovated the clinic recently as well, just before the lockdown externally. The internal work is still pending a little bit, but these are the things, take these things as a compliment. So there will be more people appreciating the lack of waiting time than the people who will complain about this aspect. And you really don't need to bother about this part.
Yes, Dr. Bhavdeep, I too get the same thing that there is a mindset in Indian mentality कि जिसके यहाँ पे ज़्यादा गर्दी वो ज़्यादा अच्छा doctor. That is a very wrong mindset that I think they get it from the physicians who
Yes,
just need to check and get the treatment
but
done.
yes, this is a part of our patient education campaign.
Exactly.
We keep on educating patients. Whenever I have to give the next appointment, even if the patient comes in without, most of my patients are referral patients and they come after calling only. Even the new patients, most of them, but the ones who walk in and are not without any appointment, I tell them at the first sitting itself that if you come after taking an appointment, you will never be even made to wait more than 5 minutes. That is the way I convey it. So if you want to keep on waiting, you can come at any given point of time, and I'm not sure whether you will be treated at that time as well or not. But yes, in COVID times, if somebody says, how is the OPD? I say, yes, it is on the lower side. I have no say qualms in admitting that. But in routine days, right. I have a OPD of 12 to 13, 12 to 15 per day. And that is more than decent. And as I said, that includes my 6 to 7 or 8 of treatable patients and the rest consultations and complaints and all those aspects. So making it a 12 to 15. But then I don't need to be answerable. Once I start conveying this mindset to all my patients, that if you take a prior appointment, you will not have to wait. That thing is automatically conveyed to them. And I do this even to my repeat patients as well. आज आप time पे आ गए, इसलिए आपको wait नहीं करना पड़ा. Next time you do the same, you will land up in the same situation. So the mindset is clear that this doctor doesn't let me wait. As I told you, the 2 points I listen to every week. One, we come from so far, you don't make us wait, and the second, record keeping. Because the record keeping part is again conveyed to the patient, and again those things are that the whole entry is there with me. And the patient wants, we give the record as well to the patient. So again, that is a patient right as well. The patient can demand the records anytime, but as per the DSEC say regulations also. But these are the things you actually want to convey. इससे पहले कि patient बोले, आप बोल दो उसको. Start conveying in an educative way. आज आप time पे आ गए, इसलिए आपको wait नहीं करना पड़ा. अगली बार भी ऐसे करना, because we work on appointment system only. And believe me, I am doing this since 2007 or 8, and this has been real game changer for me.
Sir, I have one last question.
Sure.
What is the future of dental insurance in India? I am sure if we get that in India, it is going to drastically affect all our financial aspects. Do you see dental insurance in India in coming years?
See, I've written, as I say, detailed in my presentation about two aspects. The number one part, that healthcare getting its due precedence in the coming times, and even becoming a motive for, say, election campaign, as I say, dare I say that, in India. And the second aspect, in that article I written about the article, in the insurance part, the one you're mentioning. So I foresee both of these things happening. One of those was announced by our Honorable PM yesterday. Yes, the health card being issued coming up soon for almost all the residents of India. Again, not a mandatory one, but yes, it will help a lot of us. But yes, this is the opportune time actually to touch all the population. We are barely touching 5 to 6% of Indian population in dentistry. All the dentists, 3 lakh dentists, 3 lakh plus dentists are there, 2 lakh 70 plus registered with DCI. Average figure is 3 lakh plus, which we take on the average, considering, or sorry, the reverse part, 3 lakh registered and 2.7 existing in India. So many of them say going abroad for any purpose, for settling or for education or whatever. So I see that as a game changer in coming times, because that is the way actually we can feed our rural and urban population both. That is where we can give, say, importance to our, say, teeth as well. On another side, I've written an article on a different aspect as well. I actually want the dentistry to be shifted into as a specialty itself, like a skin, like a ENT, like any other profession, and not as a standalone profession. Because it is a beautiful profession, it is a, say, specialized profession, and why not make it into a specialty as such, where we can actually convey our mindset more to the patient. And that is the only way I believe, I may be wrong in that we are going to get our due respect. But yes, coming back to the insurance point, the more sooner it comes in, the more, say, we are going, say, to stop indulging in mudslinging and, say, demeaning each other, and, say, indulging in, say, profession which actually, say, non-dignifies all of us. You're muted, Abhishek.
I think we are done with today's question. There are no more questions. Thank you so much for your
Yes.
valuable time. And obviously this session is going to help many of us. And I am going to implement few things from this webinar from tomorrow itself.
Me too. Me too. There is very important and very good topics to be discussed, and it was a very nice webinar, Dr. Bhavdeep. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bhavdeep, for the wonderful insights. I need to make some changes in my charges tomorrow. First thing to be done.
Surely. Thank you.
Please
Thank
do
you.
not forget, Anand sir, please do not forget the shares of the profit to send to Dr. Bhavdeep.
That we are sharing since first day. Don't worry.
Thank you so much, team WDA, Abhishek, Saurabh, Anant, and Anand, and the whole team, admin team. Looking forward to the part 2 with all you guys on, say, my YouTube channel on 30th of August. And do subscribe to my
Yes.
YouTube channel, and do watch in all the videos. There are, again, the channel is for dentists only. This is one of my ways of paying back to the dentistry, whatever
Thank you
way
so
I can.
much, sir, for the
Thank you.
wonderful work. You are doing great service to all the dental community, and it is really very helpful. I have been following your videos, and just for the record, WDA conducted its first webinar in 2013.
Yes, I know that. I know that. I got to know that through Dr. Sanjay Jamdade. So he told me. So I was the first in lockdown. I can say that in lockdown 2020.
Yeah.
Yes, sure.
Yeah.
You
Right.
are
Thank you.
doing this 9 years. That is a wonderful thing.
Yes.
Thank you so
Okay.
much. Good
Thank you.
day, and see
Thank
you
you.
soon in the next webinar. Thank
Sure.
you once again.
See you in part 2. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Take care.
Bye.